Ford Motor is an American multinational automaker headquartered in Dearborn, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit.
Indeed, this one was established by Henry Ford, the guy who made the Model T in 1903. You could have one in any color as long as it was black. So there you go. Market capitalization?
$59.4 billion here and trades on a PE of 16.2, dividend yield of 4. How does Ford stack up against the other motor manufacturers?
Yeah, it's not necessarily the other motor manufacturers I'm worried about. I mean, if you look at Ford and its performance against the S&P 500 over the last 5 years, it's been a massive underperformer. I think, again, there's a lot of change in this industry, and there's a lot of exciting companies coming out like Tesla that are, and the move, I think, from petrol to electric is going to be significant. I mean, Ford has, put things in place at this stage, but it has been a perpetual underperformer. The sales numbers were very, very good. I mean, they were sort of best September sales numbers, best since 2004. So there has been definitely a pickup, especially in their vans as well. I don't know if that's to do with online shopping, but overall it's been an underperformer. I think there's better areas, and it might be more of a sector concern, looking at especially the big established players.
Oh, this one has got history in bucket loads.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say we're considering these and a few other new companies today because one of our loyal viewers, whose name is Harold Idenson, wrote to us from Zimbabwe, where he lives, saying that he was tired of us talking about the same old, and was put some other international companies on the list.
So, Harold, this show is for you, sir.
So we're not talking about Toyota today and a couple of others, BMW, that we talked about in the past. Look, Ford is interesting because, as Gary said, they had an absolute, almost near-death wipeout in 2008. Since then, it's actually recovered quite nicely. The number one selling truck in America, the Ford 150, those are those rather large, on steroids type trucks that Americans like to drive. It's also got a big position in related trucks and other sorts of things. Vans, that's the sort of panel vans, which also does make sense, I guess, if you're talking about online shopping and deliveries thereof. Global player, also owns 49% of a thing called Jiangling in China. I don't know, I mean, just all around, it looks like a stock that is...
Well, let's look at the share price graph.
Sales have been better than expected lately. The US industry is in recovery. I think people were concerned that there was not going to be much growth in auto sales in the US, but it started to pick up quite nicely.
Look, it's holding up relatively well, Gary.
And also, I mean, remember, there's a decent dividend yield on top of that. So it's you might not be seeing the capital appreciation, but it is paying a decent dividend. Still, I mean, you mentioned 2008, a near-death experience. It is a quality company in the way that it was one of the, if you look at the big three, which is Chrysler and General Motors and Ford. It was the only one of the big three American motor manufacturers not to have to get bailouts, essentially. So it does have that, and like you said, a track record of what, over a century of track record.
And family control. There's a sort of B-class shares. So the current CEO, William Ford, is the direct descendant of the old boy that made the Model Ts.
Hot or not?
Unfortunately, I can't go hot. I don't think it's going to outperform.
Even with all that history.
Even with all that history, I think you've got a marginal safety there. A PE of 16 is not particularly cheap if you look at the industry. But I think I'd rather go for a different sector here, something that is going to outperform S&P, or buy a Vanguard S&P tracker if you're looking for returns.
Hot or
Look,
not?
fundamentally, the car industry is not an easy business to be in. It's a high revenue, low margin business, which is very competitive, very respondent to trends in luxury, and there are some very, very well capitalized high-end companies. I'm going to go not hot as well.
Not hot.